right, we have made it to the Exabot Investigate portion of the product inside of here. And throughout a couple of the other videos that we've done, we've actually already kind of dabbled into the Investigate area a little bit, especially when we were inside of the Exabot Insights tab and we were looking at identity insights. And there was things like unrotated access keys inside of there and just some other kind of related tables that we saw that were just giving you some different type of insights into identity related items. And when we would click on those, it would apply all the filters across the bar here and we'd be inside of the identities tab. But however, diving in a bit more inside of here and how you would maybe just come use this from a landing spot perspective. And in this video, I'm going to cover both identities and groups inside of here. Is that what you're going to see across here is we have enterprise users, humans, machines, third parties, and AI agents. And really one of the first questions that I typically get asked is, what's the difference between humans and enterprise users? And I think the best way for me to show that is actually come over to the search bar here and let's just go search for Keith inside of here. And pardon me not being able to spell. Actually, there we go. That works just fine. So let's go ahead and load Keith Buswell's enterprise user. And what you're going to see inside of here is that we can see this is Keith's enterprise identity. He is a solutions engineer, reports to Madacar, lives in Kansas City. My first date I was on was June 30th. All administrative type of events that have something that's been done to my account is listed inside of here. A full audit table of all of the actions listed in here and those results in the raw logs. And then we get down to identities. And this is where you're going to see a list of all the human identities that are associated to me. So an enterprise identity is just holistically Keith Buswell. And that's one of the unique things about Exaforce is we're able to create a canonical representation of identity inside of the environment. So when Keith logs in, and I might go to Okta, for example, and that might be a starting point, like, hey, we got to go to Okta, and then you go, if you want to get into AWS, you might go through Okta, for example, or, any of these other things, is that you might have an initial landing spot of like, well, you got to authenticate through one of these things first. And what it's letting me know is like when Keith goes into Okta, he's Keith at exaforce.com. However, when we see Keith go into AWS, he's just Keith. So, and it could be really any combination of, whatever your identity might look like inside of there. It's able to piece that automatically together. So now if I just want to go investigate the entirety of Keith, I simply load Keith's enterprise user identity and all of this information is going to be stitched together in my runtime tab over here. So anything that I've ever done in any app that we're leveraging inside of our environment, I can come in here, load my different sessions, and you can see, kind of like which environments I spend most of my time in, where, most of our sessions are loading, and do a full audit table in chronological order of everything that I did, which app it was in, the success of it, the raw logs inside of here, and a session as well. So for example, if we go take a look at these events, there was three different events that happened in this session. I could go open up this session inside of here and all of those events would be inside of here. So if I wanted to understand what Keith did in an entire sitting, I simply load the session and here's those three events and everything that I did associated in that session. So it's a place where, we can just go consume everything about Keith inside of here. And then also any resources that are related to me, any location analysis and things like that as well. So a really nice landing spot if I just wanted to go really kind of look at, holistically something like Keith inside of the environment. The other thing that's really nice about this is now I could also go to groups. Show me all of the groups that Keith belongs to. So not just AWS, not just Okta, for example, show me all groups he belongs to. Show me all the secrets that he's created, that he's allowing access to the environment, kind of through him. So for example, I went and created an access token into Jira so I could send some ticket information there. So we could see all of those when I created it, how often is it being used. Matter of fact, this is one of the ways that we can detect those unrotated tokens in the environment. Any devices that I've registered for MFA purposes, for example, are all listed inside of here as well. So it's a very, I would say, just in-depth place where we could just, really go understand everything about a particular use in the environment. However, if we wanted to go load if we wanted to put, like, I would say, like, a bit of a magnifying glass on Keith, but what does Keith look like inside of AWS? As a matter of fact, I can see right here this IDC account that I had has been deleted from there. However, I could still go open this up and we can say, sure enough, it says this identity has been deleted. It was an IDC user inside of the environment. We could see which account I had access to inside of here. We're loading the entire runtime so we can see the last time I was in there, those sessions, all the events that I did, location analysis. Plus, we can go take a look at roles and permissions. So when Keith had access to this AWS account, what roles and permissions were assigned to him? And right here, we can see all of the roles that I had access to or that were assigned to me. There was 5 roles that were essentially unused by me as well. And then more granular view of what permissions overview of saying, hey, here's 351 list permissions, but 334 of these are unused. All of the policies. So really, really robust set of information inside of here with just putting that magnifying glass on Keith. What does he look like inside of AWS? And we could also just come up here and go to a graph. And what this is going to do is lay out an entire permission graph of saying, hey, when Keith logs in and he leverages that IDC user account, here's all the AWS accounts he has access to, here's what type of access, and here's all the different things that he can go interact with inside of there. So just a kind of a unique way that we could go to any particular item, say maybe from a data perspective, like, hey, I want to go look at this particular event and this particular service right here. I could simply just say, let's go disaggregate that, and it'll kind of create it and separate it out from the rest of the services. Or I could just put it in line, say, hey, let's really just go focus on that one thing. And now you can see in which accounts, which different accesses that I have inside of here, and ultimately that end up leading to me accessing that service. So just a very nice way that you can interact with this graph. A couple other things inside of here, we can essentially load the runtime, add some additional layers like session count, edge direction, and then we can kind of manipulate the map a bit, maybe turn it more into a force diagram or a hierarchy diagram. So just depends on what type of visual learner you are, using this, you can kind of play around with those. So pretty cool way that we can leverage identity information inside of here. So just kind of backing this out, the other thing that you can do is you obviously have access to all of these filters across the top. I want to only look where there's console logins equals true, false, is MFA enabled, true or false, has an IDP. So a lot of really nice out of the box filters that you can use up here, or we can scroll down and leverage these sub tabs that we have inside of here. So for example, groups. If I just wanted to go say, I want to go see where maybe one of these groups has a large amount of users inside of it, probably like an everyone group or something like that. Okay, great. Actually, you know what? Sorry, apologies. I actually just went the wrong way. We want to go descending. Let's look at the big ones first here. Because I imagine that, yeah, perfect. So like an everyone group. So one of the things I could do inside of here is I could either just go open that group directly and just go open this up, and all of the members will be listed inside of here. And be able to consume all of this information, and all the identities will be listed in here for all of those members. Or we could simply come inside of here and just add this as a filter. And then what will happen is the entire identity chart inside of here would be filtered down just to those user accounts that are inside of that group. So that's one kind of a neat way that you can go look at group members and, kind of essentially the type of people that we see that are in that group and what type of activities they're doing. You could also just go look at from a secrets perspective. So for example, if maybe there was a token or a key, for example, that you wanted to, maybe you knew the name of it, you had that information, you just wanted to go drop it in and learn about it, you could additionally do that as well. So same thing, go into your search bar, drop it in. And when you filter on that, what's going to happen is now the whole chart is going to filter down up above, and we can see there's one machine account where that access key is relevant to. And I could go open up and go say, okay, let's go see, what that particular machine does, what type of, environment. I can see this one's related to our AWS environment. Go show me its runtime and all of those relevant type of things that I want to go take a look at. Additionally as well, if I wanted to just go take a look for resources that are impacted by identities, who's doing reads, who's doing updates, creates plus deletes, Across the top, this is all different infrastructure type of events, but we could also go say applications. I want to go filter on an application and go see who all uses that application. Drive and resources, things like maybe Google Drive, for example. I want to load a folder inside of here and go look at all the users that essentially we've seen interact with it or it's shared with. MFA devices, if you had a device of interest, code repo. So very, very interactive and robust way to filter down on particular identities inside of the environment based off a set of criteria that might have and filters that you might want to use inside of here based off of location or whatever information that you have. So I said I was going to cover identities and groups. So groups, I've already kind of touched on groups a little bit in the identities tab. So essentially the groups that I was showing you in identities tab, they're also listed inside of here. It's just displayed a little bit differently. So same thing, if I had a location that I wanted to load inside of here and I want to go see what groups are impacted by that, I could very easily do so. Maybe it's like an admin thing. I see some people in an admin related group and they're coming from a location. Maybe that's not normal or I would expect. I could go do that type of filtering. Or just the particular events themselves. Like, hey, I see create events, not very much going on. I want to go filter down create events and I want to go see what groups maybe are being impacted inside of there. I could do that. So very similar to what I was showing in identities, just kind of a different lens to put on it. So thanks for watching. And next we're going to dive into Exaforce reviews. Thank you.